Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call to order this meeting of Records and Public Safety Committee. First item on our agenda is Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. If you'd please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First item on our agenda is the adoption of the agenda, and I need a motion to adopt, please.
Motion to adopt the agenda?
Support Van Sickle.
Motion was made by Commissioner Zinner, supported by Commissioner Van Sickle. Please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes dated October 14th, 2021. I need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve Van Sickle.
Support by Nard.
It's been moved by Van Sickle, supported by Nard. Any additions or corrections? Seeing and hearing none, please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is public participation. This is the first opportunity for public participation. It's for those who wish to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes on any item which is on today's agenda and only on today's agenda. The second opportunity for public participation for those who wish to speak on any issue that is germane to this committee. Anybody wish to speak in public participation? I see none. I hear none. I'm going to close public participation. I'm going to move on to item 6, which is department recommendation. There's an agreement with Unique Food Services Management Incorporated, food service for the Juvenile Justice Center. It's $100,000. I need a motion to recommend this to full board.
So move, Wallace.
So,
It's been moved by Wallace, supported by Zinner. Ms. Westfall is here. There she is.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ms. Westfall. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you. I'm here today to ask the board to consider the renewal of our food service contract at the Juvenile Justice Center. This contract has been in place for several years. It was bid out a couple years ago, and the two other bids came in quite a bit higher. It was for the dinner meal. The dinner meal bid from Unique came in under $3. One of the bids came in for $8 for a lunch, and another one came in at about $4 for lunch. So we went ahead and went with Unique at that time. They have been providing our meals at the Juvenile Center for now going on 3 years. We're asking for a 1-year renewal. The reason that time frame, and we're under some unique circumstances with food service right now. Probably 5 or 6 years ago, we had 2 of our full-time cooks leave. What was also happening is our population was going down. So what I decided to do is not fill those positions. There was no need to fill full-time positions when our population had went down about half over the last 10 years or so. So what happened is we took one of our full-time cooks, became the food service director to run the kitchen program, working with 2 part-time cooks. Well, what was happening in 19 and 20 is we literally hired 11 part-time cooks. Those 11 people had an average stay of less than 30 days. So what we thought is, let's go ahead and contract our weekend and dinner meals. Our food service director, who just promoted from a cook, she was going to be dropping in about a year, was talking about retiring. We'd maintain her as a full-time person in the kitchen, maintain part of those meals being contracted. Well, what happened is she ended up leaving her employment. So we ended up in a labor arbitration dispute over that for about the last year and a half. So we thought, let's stay with this contract, see what happens to this employee. If she ends up coming back, we may have to look at staffing the kitchen again. If she doesn't end up coming back, what we can do is, at that time, take a look at contract, take a look at going back and rehiring personnel, see what's most efficient and the best for the kids in the facility, what might be most fiscally efficient for the county. So that's what I'm here doing today, asking for an additional 1 year on this contract for this vendor to provide meals so that we can have some time to maybe take a look. I can take a look at that with finance and the county executive's office and say, okay, where do we want to move with this? At the same time, our numbers are becoming a little more normalized with COVID. We're not quite there yet. But when we decided not to bring those 2 full-time positions and fill them, and even looking at those part-time positions, our numbers had gotten down so low, it didn't make any sense to hire people, and with part-time, we couldn't hire them anyway. So the kids are getting meals from this vendor. They are in compliance with the National School Lunch Breakfast Program. The kids are getting a good, healthy meal. Licensing was just out recently, interviewed them. The meals are good. I'm recommending 1 more year, and in this year, we can take a look at how we want to approach that moving forward. And I would also suggest at that time to rebid it, because we'll be a couple years into that, and see if there's some other vendors out there that are comparable, that can provide a service, within a reasonable price range as well. That's what I'm recommending today.
Thank you, Ms. Westfall. We have a couple of commissioners have some questions. Ms.
Okay.
Song, Commissioner Song.
Thank you, Chair. So you said the food service director left.
Yes.
So how have you guys been operating, just with this
Yes.
contractor?
Yes. This vendor is providing 3 meals a day, and that's why you see that addendum on there. It was originally just for the dinner meals. That addendum was approved last year by the board, that that the vendor could also provide the lunch and breakfast meals pending the outcome of that labor issue, which took longer than we thought it would.
Okay. Can I ask, what's the salary or the hourly rate for that service director?
The food service director with benefits, give or take, because we've had a couple, I would say about 67,000.
Okay, and that's a full-time position?
That's a full-time. And then the 2 full-time cooks that we didn't backfill came in with benefits at about 53, 54.
Okay.
So really, this program is costing less than staffing the program. Yeah. Now,
Yeah,
if our
that's why I asked that
population went
question.
way up, that might be different.
So if the population goes up, are they still going to be able to maintain the service at the level that they currently are?
Yes. there
With the
wouldn't be any
contract
concern with
staying
that.
at 100,000 a year?
Yeah, and last year, we asked for 80,000. We didn't even come close to that. If we spent 40,000 on those meals, I'd be surprised. Adding the additional is anticipating if those numbers jump up. I doubt we'd spend the 80 that we asked for last year.
Okay, so they don't get that right away? Or they do get that up front?
Well, we pay monthly. So they provide meals and then we turn around, weekly. They provide weekly meals and they send us an invoice. So we're paying after the fact.
Okay, so we are approving like up to the 100,000, but you said it might be less.
Yes, it will likely be less. I just want to be careful anticipating those numbers in terms of population. And remember, this money is all already in our budget. So the food money that we had when we had staff is the money that we're taking and transferring into that contract line. So
Okay.
this isn't costing the county any
Okay.
additional money.
I just have one last question about the part-timers, and you said it was 30-day turnover. Do you know why? What's the reason? And since you've had difficulty, have you guys tried using like a staffing agency, or what has been the outreach?
I suspect the difficulty, some of it might have been the food service director adjusting to that position, and the staff maybe struggling with her style a little bit, only because some that had left had mentioned that. It's weekend hours. It's, it's not the most popular schedule. Part-time staff are hard to maintain. It was weird because when I came in 2013, we had a couple part-timers that had been there forever, and it just kind of ebbs and flows. I think the county did a good job of advertising, and we had interviews. They just changed their mind once they got there. I think some of it was adjusting to our personnel.
Okay, thank you.
Yep,
Thank you,
thank
Chair.
Commissioner Matusek, you withdrew?
I withdrew.
Thank you. I see no other speakers. We have a motion on the floor. Commissioners, if you would, please vote. Thank you, Ms. Westphal.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Next item on the agenda is a purchase from Colossus Incorporated, doing business as Global Public Safety and Justice. It's for the jail management system for $1,263,390. That's for a 5-year term. I need a motion to move this to full board.
Matusek moves.
I'm sorry, who made the motion? Commissioner Matusek, supported by Commissioner Zinner. And we have Captain Mish.
Good afternoon, Chair. Thank you. Board, good afternoon. So we have a proposal today for a new jail management system. Our current jail management system is at end of life. It's approximately 20 years old, and this project went out for RFP in April of this year. Working together with county purchasing, county IT, and the Macomb County Sheriff's Office members, we determined that Global was the most qualified for this project.
That must line up again. Commissioner Matusek, you have a question?
I do. It's a sort of broader question involving the next few agenda items. Can you explain to me the difference between, or how these all work together, the jail management system, the inmate tracking system, the digital activity log? How do these fit together, and are they various components of the same system?
Two different systems, and yes, I'd be happy to explain. So the jail management system manages all the inmates that come into our custody. It manages their charges, what their bonds are, their inmate number, history while they're inside of the jail. It's a very large and robust system, so our system right now has 20 years worth of data inside of it. And it is in capturing all of that data. Now, the second item that is on the agenda, it's more of a day-to-day drill down, and I can get to that next, but like we currently have paper log books, and that would be a replacement of a paper log book. Our current jail management system is electronic, so this would be just going to a new version. The other one I can explain a little bit better.
I'm just interested, they all fit together, they all work together, we're not doing standalone things?
No, there is an interface. Currently, our current jail management system, I've talked to county IT, they can build an interface, which is possible to work with this, with our current technology. But for the global product, that works hand in hand with the RFID.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Song.
Thank you, Chair. I'm looking at the letter of recommendation from Metro Technology Services, and it includes, several hardware monitors, tablets, cameras. Are these things that you currently have or don't have?
I'm trying to find that tab, sorry.
That's
It is
fine.
not current equipment that we have.
This is not current equipment, so what happens to the current equipment that you do have then?
So the current equipment that we do have, actually, if you just give me a moment to get to. So what's included in this proposal is we currently have desktop computers in which our jail management system, we operate off of that. This includes something like the flat screens that you see here. So we'll have like a big grease board up that will prompt people to be able to see live time in color coding, who's up next. If somebody's late for something, it'll be able to display it on an overhead display for us.
So you currently don't have this system,
Correct.
including the tablets, the cameras, additional monitors?
Correct.
I'm having a hard time justifying the purchasing amount of this. I get that it's a 5-year agreement, but even then, I mean, that still amounts up to about $258,000 a year. So could you just, I guess, try to make me understand like why you think this is essential to have?
The jail management system?
Yes.
Without having a jail management system, we would not be able to manage our inmate population.
But you
their
currently
charges.
manage that right now, right?
That is
With
correct.
With an older system. So
is-
this will be like an upgraded system, or what's the difference?
Our current system is at end of life. It is a Motorola product. Motorola will no longer be supporting that product. After November of 2022, it will be done and there will be no support for it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Farrington?
Thank you, Chair. Welcome. When I saw the bid, it came in less than half of the next closest bid. I'm just curious, why do you think that is? I mean, that's not normal.
Well, we were very glad to see that as well.
Well,
Yeah,
glad
we
to
were
see a
very glad to
lower
see that.
number, but usually when I see something like that, it means they didn't know what they're bidding on. Because otherwise, they win every bid at every jail. So that's what, did you guys reflect, have conversations about that? And if so, where'd you kind of take that conversation?
We did. So when this bid went out through the mitten system, and this is information from purchasing, so it went out, and there were 87 vendors that it went out to. 48 downloaded it in its entirety. We came back with 5 vendors who we looked at their system, saw their system, walked through their systems, and they were able to provide what we think is an excellent product that's out on the market for a excellent cost. So we've looked at it. We've did a sandbox environment with their product to walk through and see what it would do. It was excellent in its use to us, our line staff that works with it, and we
So
found
your
it.
decision team really went through it and how it'd be implemented? Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to feel comfortable about that because I was a little shocked it was half the price. So.
Yes, it was.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have Commissioner Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. So looking at the contract in regards to this being a cloud-based software, I noticed that there's 1,500 licenses that is part of the actual contract. Why do we need 1,500 licenses?
I have Sandy here with me as a part of that from County IT. If you could help me reference which tab you're speaking of.
Let's see, I believe it was under, which we've got like 10 different attachments. I think it's under the recommendation letter.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Yeah, it's
So-
under the recommendation letter. It was submitted from Metro Technologies to our IT department. And that was in the original scope, which included 1,500 licenses. So I'm just kind of curious, is that how many licenses we're getting with this platform?
That's correct. So, good
Okay.
afternoon,
So
Commissioners.
then why would we need 1,500 licenses for a cloud-based program that I would assume each license is related to each person that's using the system?
Correct, so it is for each officer, and there's different rights, whether there's full access, limited, so depending on the roles and responsibilities, but each individual officer would have their own license.
Okay, so we have 1,500 officers accessing the system right now?
Well, it's
Or
scope-
exist, or I'm just kind of comparing apples to apples here, and I know it's probably more like apples to oranges because your current system is different than what you're looking to upgrade to, and I totally understand that. But do we have that many people accessing the system currently?
We have currently approximately 500 Sheriff's Department employees that have access to it. I can check and get the answer for you, but there are interfaces that go to other inter-county agencies, like Community Corrections has access to this system.
Okay.
I can get that answer for you. And I'd happy to
That'd be
provide
great.
that
It
for you.
just seemed like a large amount of licenses. And I know all these contracts with all this technology stuff that we deal with, it's per license. So it just seems like that was a really large number. So if we can get some clarification, that'd be great. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome, Commissioner. Unfortunately, we don't have Jaco here, but he's out chasing Bambi, so he probably could have answered that question for you. I see Commissioner Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It says on our form here that it's going to take the full year to migrate from the old system to the new system if we approve it. Do you foresee any challenges to it taking longer? And if it does take longer, the new system isn't going to just shut off. It just isn't going to be maintained, correct? So if it does happen to go longer than the end of life date, we will still have access to it as long as a mouse doesn't get in there and bite the wires.
Thank you. Yes, that was a concern of ours as well. Operating off of this system and making sure that we have a fully functioning system was key to us as well. We reached out to several references that were listed through this company, and we had one county that we reached out to, and they stated that even with a COVID shutdown, they were still able to be implemented in time. They've assured us that they'll have it done and ready in time, and the references that we've spoken to were able to do that as well.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome, Commissioner. I see no other speakers, so Commissioners, if you would, please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Next is item C. Why don't we take item C and D together? I need a motion to move that to full board.
So moved, Song.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first one. Song made the motion.
Your best friend.
Wallace supported it. Budget amendment, capital improvement fund, RFID, inmate tracking, $139,994.12. And the second one is the agreement with Guardian for the RFID, the inmate tracking and digital activity log, same amount, $139,994.12. Captain Mish, you're up again.
Yes, thank you again.
Go ahead.
So the Guardian RFID, so the jail management system, it takes all the bulk of the information that we get from the courts, from all of that data, and that's your big bulk of information. However, we also have daily things that happen in inmates' lives. We have day-to-day activity. We have rounds, head counts, when supplies were passed out to somebody, if someone was caught with contraband, etc. And we currently use paper logbooks, and that is how we write it down. This Guardian RFID, radio frequency ID, would have a wristband on each inmate that would have a computer chip, and officers would have a handheld device, and they would be able to scan the inmate or scan where they're hitting around at, and it would be able to therefore provide an electronic log of that inmate data and movement throughout the facility. That is not currently part of what a jail management system does. It would be in addition to it.
Commissioners, any questions? I'm sorry, Commissioners, any questions?
Yes, sir.
The one didn't go to the second one. What do we have here? Commissioner, Chairman Brown.
Thank you. Will that also have medical records on there, medical information on their ID, on their bracelet? If there's an issue, you go up, scan the person, it shows what the medical history is, perhaps?
Our medical records are separate. WellPath is our contracted medical service. Medical records are separate, but if there were a medical alert, that would be available to somebody.
So if they're, say, diabetic, would that be on the bracelet? They could check, and if they were trying to assess them or something like that, because you want to have information that you got on them personally. So if you got an issue, you scan somebody, find out what's going on. They'll give you a heads up on what's going on with the inmate if he's laying on the floor having a seizure or something like that.
Well, it can tell you what they're, if there's a current alert on them. So if there's a medical alert, it'll
just
let us
give you
know.
reference to go back to the record.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes,
Is this is new to the jail then, right?
This is new.
Will this be given to every single person that's booked in the jail?
Every inmate will get a new wristband. It'll be a wristband that looks somewhat similar to ours, but it has a computer chip on the inside of it.
What's the maintenance, the ongoing, we're going to go through a lot of bracelets, right? We got thousands of prisoners go through that every day coming in and out. Will every prisoner get one, or will it be, will every single person go in there and get a bracelet when they come in, even if it's only for maybe a temporary stay?
Yes, everyone will have one of these wristbands.
And they're going to continue to supply them, the wristbands, as needed? I mean, is there an ongoing fee to continue to supply us with those?
So inside of the proposal, there is a proposal to have wristbands for each inmate that's currently in there, and then to have every new inmate that comes in get one of the RFID wristbands.
Can they be reused? Can they be reused? Can they be detached from them and then reused on another inmate? with the chip cleared perhaps and reused, so we don't have to buy them all the time? Just,
I can find out,
I'm just curious. Okay.
yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Commissioner, I lost all my speakers.
Commissioner Song is next.
Thank you. I'm on here twice.
Go ahead, Commissioner Song.
Thank you so much, Chair. The wristband, is the price included, the replacements of them in the 139,000?
So there is a yearly maintenance that will occur the following year, and it's included in there.
Okay, I didn't ask about the yearly maintenance. I'm asking about like replacements of the wristband. Because you said every inmate would receive one. So if there's like 400 inmates and they each get a wristband, is there additional cost to that?
I hadn't approached reusing wristbands with them. That is not something that we currently do, nor would I have a method for cleaning them or try to reuse them, but I will reach out to them and see what that would be for a reuse purpose.
No, I mean, every inmate that comes in gets a wristband. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So if you have hundreds of inmates, I mean, this $139,000, what does that entail?
Oh,
How many wristbands?
Sorry, I have the number just
Oh,
close at
I
hand.
say thank you.
So they get 1,600 wristbands for $50.
Okay, so they're not expensive, basically. Okay, are they plastic or what kind of material are they made out of?
Plastic is a wide-term use, but yes, it would be like a, I know when you get into vinyl, plastic, things like that, but it is a non-irritating plastic type of wristband similar to one that we have right now.
Like the one you have on right now? You have one on right now? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm sorry, I was referencing my watch.
Okay.
I like to have a watch, sorry. That's
I'm
where they
curious.
wear a wristband at, it's on their wrist.
It's like
Sorry.
a hospital band, like when you go to the hospital, they give you one of those bands with your patient ID?
Yes, similar to
Like that. Okay, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, are there any safety concerns with these wristbands and inmates hurting themselves or cutting themselves in the process of trying to remove them?
I would say that's minimal. We currently use wristbands as a method for identifying our inmates. They wear wristbands now. It would be similar to said wristband. It has,
Except it has the microchip in it.
correct.
Right, okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Thank you. I think the $50 for 1,600 answers mine. I don't see them wiping clean wristbands for that price. They're probably just going to issue a new one on each one. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Farrington?
Yes, thanks, Captain. Question I have is, if I'm reading this correctly, this is an amendment to the budget, so I'm curious why, if this is a good idea, it wasn't in the current year's budget or just wait and put into the next year's budget. Wonder why we're doing this mid-year.
It was the end of the year. I've done some research into it, and we were hoping to get it implemented this year yet.
So there's no pressing need to do it now versus January. I mean, we're only 6 weeks away from a new budget year. So I'm trying to figure out why we're doing it this way.
Point of order.
Yes, please.
We're a calendar year budget, so the budget year actually ends January 1st, just for the record.
Say it again.
Our budget doesn't end in 6 weeks. Our budget ends a calendar year in January.
At the end of January?
Yes. Well, 1st of January, we start a new budget year.
That's 6 weeks from now.
Seems so far away.
This is November 15th. Hopefully your Christmas shopping is done.
Excuse me, I've got to go.
So it's basically, you came up with the idea mid-year, you put out the bid, and you're just getting the process going along. Is that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just trying to understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Van Sickle?
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. I agree, there's no point in reusing these. In fact, wristbands, in fact, I would not want the wristband reused because once the wristband ID is tied to a certain prisoner, I wouldn't want to have any possibility of mistake that it got tied to a second prisoner or anything like that. So I'm absolutely behind using one for one person. But what I'd like to know is what keeps the prisoners from swapping wristbands?
Wristbands in general are put on. There is a fastener inside of them. It's usually a two-prong with a metal plate, and it gets crimped upon there so that inmates cannot take them off. And we try to dissuade them by its own engineering itself from being able to be taken off. However, if inmates do take them off, it is a major rule violation, and we do make sure that they are held accountable if they're ever to take a wristband off.
Yeah, well, if two inmates both removed their wristbands and swapped them for, I don't know for what reason, one of them had the duty, the other a privilege or something, the other one was trading or something, you wouldn't really be able to detect that, would you?
No, but that is the nice thing about being able to properly affix a wristband on someone's wrist. Being as it's on the wrist and the hand is larger, if it's properly put on there, then they cannot be slid off or otherwise altered or moved.
Does the department do any kind of facial recognition?
Actually, the new global jail management product that we have sought your approval on today does have facial recognition built into that.
I was wondering if periodically all the prisoners ought to run through the facial recognition to make sure that the wristband and the face match. Just a thought.
Interesting thought and well noted. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Zinner.
Thank you, Chair. I support the police and the sheriff department in almost everything, but I realize this could be very helpful and will be very helpful, but I just don't believe in chipping people, so I will be voting no on that. But no, I'm not against the police or the sheriff in any way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Matuzek.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Between this and the other agenda items we've been talking about, we're collecting a lot of data. What happens to that data? How long do we keep it? How is it protected from hacking? It's a lot of data.
Actually,
I know, this is an IT question.
Actually, I'll defer to IT for data use.
Okay, so this data does not disappear, like on the other system, it's been there since its inception, so it would continue. From a security perspective, this is in the cloud, but it is SOC certified, it is AWS certified, it is FedRAMP. They're in the process of going through that certification. So we validated all of that, so we're comfortable that it's got the security protocols in place. And they also have a disaster recovery environment, so they do backups every month. So we have a failover should we ever encounter that as well.
So we keep this data forever? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, there is no disposal process today for any jail data besides video.
Interesting. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome, Commissioner. Mike, I think you spoke already. Did you speak already? Yes, I did. Oh, you did speak, so you don't want to speak again?
No, yes, I do.
Oh, you do?
That's
Go
what
ahead,
my
Mr. Benson.
Just not
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Speaking of the cloud, what provisions are there in this system if the cable going down I-75 gets dug up again and you're out of service for 2 or 3 days? Is there any local storage that provides backup and caching for data going up?
Not specifically in that perspective, but what we do have is the redundancy in our internet connection. So we've got the data ring that we put in the county. So there is a failover should one sever, but there's always, I guess, depending on how big of a splice there is, there could be outage and we'd be in manual workaround processes.
About the data ring redundancy, is that a data ring redundancy among county buildings?
It's a fiber ring, so that's what lets the internet or the data pass through. So it's not storing the data per se. But yeah, that is ultimately through the county. There's what they call pigtails that go to some of the other stations or locations, but yes, it
Okay,
covers
so
our
if we
county.
have a redundant data ring around between the county facilities, how many to the outside web do we have off that data ring? Is there redundant connections to the World Wide Web from our redundant local ring?
Our local ring is what allows you to connect to the web. So, yes.
I understand that. That doesn't mean that the local ring has more than one connection to the web.
I'm not sure. I'm
Between
following.
you and me, we could have two paths between you and me, but out to the outside world, how many paths are there? Is there only one path off the redundant ring out to the outside world, or is there redundant paths through multiple ISPs off the redundant local ring?
So the data ring in itself has two redundancies. So one is always connected to the web, and when one fails, it goes around the other way. So there's really, at any point, you can access the web from two different junctions. So private network is something different than the internet. So we aren't using the private network at all for the solution. It is only the internet. So
Okay. So you're only going to the internet for this solution?
correct. There is nothing local here.
But I'm still not convinced I'm expressing my question adequately enough. Do we have more than one internet service provider that is connected to our web?
Yes, we're connected to any internet. We go through AT&T as our fiber housing, but it connects to any internet service that's out there, any ISP offering. So we
Okay.
don't have any limitation to who on the internet we connect to, besides firewall rules and things like that.
I still don't think we're communicating properly, and I don't want to take everybody's time with this.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk with you offline on it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good question. I'm sure that when Jacob gets back, I'm sure the young lady can help you, but I'm sure you can bring that question up. Maybe you can get a better answer for it. Okay, I see no other speakers, so if you would vote on items C and D, please.
Motion passes 11-2. Commissioners Vansickle and Zinner voting no.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you, Captain.
Thank you.
We have items, there's an agreement with the Sheriff's Office, Law Enforcement Services, Lenox Township. There's also New Haven, Washington, Mount Clemens, Harrison, and Macomb. If commissioners have no objections, I'd like to have Commander Aber up here explaining, maybe just give it a group one. If I can get a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to refer to full board items E through J. Farrington.
Support. We have a motion by Commissioner Farrington, supported by Commissioner Hall. Commander Abro, you're up.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone, board, commissioners. I'm here to discuss the 2022, 23, and 24 law enforcement and dispatch services contract. I have spoken to all the communities and boards, some at their monthly meetings. All contracts have been approved by the respective boards of every community that we see here today. I'm asking your approval to move this forward to continue our agreement with the communities that we contract with. Lenox Township is the only township that has asked to make a change. They have added a deputy and a vehicle to their fleet. So with respect to all the other communities, we are continuing the same service we have for the last 3 years. I'm asking the board to approve an additional 3 years for the communities that are listed here today.
Commander, we have some speakers here. I have Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Commander.
Sir?
I've noticed on some of these breakdowns, there's fire and emergency maintenance equipment. And it's in some, but not in others. So what is that and why?
Those are the communities that are paying for dispatchers. So there is dispatch fees and maintenance that's added to their contract, as well as the fire departments that we dispatch for, where you see those line items that they're asking for the fire and maintenance equipment.
Okay, so it's not actual equipment, is it?
It's actual modems and equipment that
Okay.
they use for their vehicles.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what was submitted, but yes, there's definitely equipment that goes through maintenance. And the software is really the maintenance piece of it. However, hardware is usually just an outright purchase and a 5-year replacement. but it is the software that runs on the vehicles.
Thank you. And secondly, I looked at some of the communities, the prices for a dispatcher are different from community to community. Is there a reason for that? I mean, if you go look at Macomb, it's $107,645. You look at Harrison, it's $107,737. I just want to make sure somebody didn't make a mistake and we're not getting what we should be getting.
You said you're comparing Macomb to Harrison?
Yeah, those were the first two I looked at. It's under,
I have a dispatcher for Macomb Township as $107,737, and same price for Harrison Township.
okay, if you look down at the overhead, it says $107,645. Now go back to Harrison Township, it's $107,737. Just saying you want your 92 bucks.
Yeah, you might, I'd have to see what you're seeing in front of
Okay.
you. I'm not,
Happy to show it to you.
yeah, because mine are showing 107,737. I know there was a change, correct, Steve?
Yeah, I'm looking at it now, I see what Commissioner Hawes is speaking about, so.
Well, I know my eyesight's bad, but I'm reading
No,
exactly what I got.
Your eyesight's serving you well, Commissioner.
Thank you, Steve. That's all I have, Chair. They can fix that if they want later.
Thank you, Commissioner. I see no other speakers. Whoops. You hesitated too long.
Thank you.
Commissioner Brown, go ahead.
What's the number of department employees? I was going through the information, I don't see the number in Washington Township in particular. How many deputies?
Sure, if you go to the Washington Township contract, you'll see that the number of deputies are 14.
Is it in the paper? I just didn't see it. I was
Yeah,
trying
it
to.
should be off to the left-hand side there, just next to position. And it should be under your attachment, attachment A.
So you said there's 14?
14 deputies, they are paying for half of a school liaison, which is a .5 position. The school picks up the other half, and they're paying for one dispatcher.
Oh, there you go, okay. All right. How many contract people do we have out in the community right now, in total? How many people are we contracting out across the county? Just for everyone's purpose.
It's 14, right off the top of my head, 14 for Washington, 14 for Harrison. I believe there's 16 for Mount Clemens, 32 for Macomb Township, 3 for New Haven. There'll be 4 now additional for Lenox Township, so a fair amount. And then we also have the communities that we dispatch for, as far as Clinton Township, which is 14 positions, and Sterling Heights, which is 16.
So we're over 100 of our uniformed service people providing contract services to the rest of the county.
Sure.
Because it's a better deal.
Absolutely.
Because it makes sense for the taxpayers. And they get professional service and all the ancillary support, just the commercial of those of our communities that, haven't taken full advantage of it, because it's good for the taxpayers, it's good for the citizens, because we get good service. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I see no other speakers. If you would please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Item 7 is public participation. This is the opportunity for public participation for those who wish to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes in any issue that's germane to this commission. Do we have anybody here in the public who wishes to speak? Captain, you all through? Seeing and hearing none, I'll close that. Item 9. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go to item 8. That's a good one. Let's go to commissioners' comments. Any commissioners wish to come up with any comments, please? Commissioner Walsh, go ahead.
I just wanted to remind everyone about the parade this weekend. I did ask Crystal to send out an email, so you should be getting that. Just say we're meeting up at 7 a.m. at St. Peter's on New Street in Mount Clemens, just to help set up. And then the parade starts at 10 a.m. So you do not have to be there at 7 a.m. if you do not want to.
Thank goodness.
But I will get more details to you. And if you want to bring candy to give to the kids, that's great as well. So more details to come.
Commissioner Walsh, can you tell us, where's the parade starting? Where's it ending? And how long is it?
Well, once the parade gets started, it's gonna be pretty quick. But we are supposed to be just going down Main Street. But I'll get all the details for you.
Very good, thank you. Any other commissioners? If you show me by hand. I see no other commissioners. Item number 9.
Motion to adjourn.
I heard that.
Commissioner Song.
Commissioner Song and Commissioner Sabatini supported that. Please vote. I'm not through with you yet.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Thanks, Commissioner. See you tomorrow.